Hi guys, welcome to Nutrition Bites, the bite-sized videos which break down nutrition fundamentals and make getting results far easier. And today I'm going to talk about the third macronutrient. Okay, so I've already spoken about protein, I've also spoken about fat, so today I'm going to talk about carbohydrates. And like carbohydrates is now kind of the boogeyman of weight loss, where people think if you touch carbohydrates you're going to get fat, you're going to put weight on. And I'll tell you now, it's not the case. If you've seen episode 1, again, about energy balance, you know this is what's important. So providing you're in a deficit, so providing you're taking in less calories than you actually need, or you're spending more, you can't put on weight, whether this comes from protein, fats and carbohydrates, because calories are a calorie, okay? Obviously they have different kind of function in the body, or effects kind of the body in different ways, but the fact remains the same. So don't think kind of carbohydrates make you fat. So how much do you actually need? Well, what we know now is that if you've already worked out your calories, we know your protein, so remember that's 2 grams per kilo of body weight or around that. Your fat is 1 gram per kilo of body weight. So all you need to do now is just work out the rest. So if you take kind of your proteins and your fat from your calories, what's left is from carbohydrates. Okay, really straightforward and really easy to do. The one thing I would kind of say is that fats and kind of carbohydrates are inversely proportionate with one another. So what I mean by that is that if kind of your carbohydrates come up, it's wise to bring your fats down. And likewise, if your fats come up, it's wise to bring your carbohydrates down. So as long as you kind of got that protein number, you can actually kind of change kind of your carbs and fats, providing you still stay within that energy deficit. I hope I haven't lost you there. The other thing with carbohydrates, even though they're not, or people say they're not essential, they're the primary source of energy for when we exercise. And we know that we need to exercise. There's just so many kind of benefits associated with that. So when you exercise, when you train hard, you want to kind of train for performance. You want to train to get better. You want to train to get faster, stronger, fitter. And to do that, you need carbohydrates in your diet. And for this reason, it makes sense to keep your carbohydrates around exercise. In another video, I will be speaking about nutrient timing, but it just seems prudent, or it just seems sensible to fuel your exercise with carbohydrates with the meal before, or a snack before, and also to recover by kind of adding carbohydrates after you exercise. Again, you've got kind of about a 4 to 6 hour window. It's not so much a window, but this kind of time is when your muscles are something called insulin sensitive. And all I mean by that is they're ready to uptake sugars once you exercise. So it just makes sense to keep those carbohydrates within that time. But what are actually good sources? Well, I'm sure you've heard about good carbs and bad carbs, but are there any? Is there any good ones or bad ones? To be honest, not really, because it's all broken down into the same. Whether you have sweet potato or table sugar, it's going to be broken down into glucose, okay, which is going to be used for that energy. The only difference is that, say, a lot of your complex kind of carbohydrates, so things like oats, whole grains, potatoes and things like that, it's going to take a lot longer to raise that blood sugar level, or you're going to have a sustained kind of blood, or an increase in your blood sugar levels. So you're not going to get that crash, you're not going to be wanting something. But this is the important part. It's all about kind of what kind of food satiate or keep you full, or help you stay within this energy balance, or in this calorie deficit, sorry. Whereas things that say like honey, table sugars, your simple sugars, cakes, biscuits, you have that quick kind of rush of energy, you have that crash and you end up wanting more. Whereas a lot of, say, your foods which are high in fibre, so things like your oats, your potatoes and your breads, they do keep you full for longer, so you end up not eating as much in the first place anyway. It's like an automatic calorie control method. So eat anything you want? Not really. Again, going back to that kind of same point, it just seems wise to choose foods which keep you full, which give you better energy levels. So things like your whole grains or your lower kind of GI types of food tend to be a better choice. However, again, I'll touch upon this later in with like nutrient timing or kind of carbohydrates for performance. But if you are going to say exercise in something like a higher GI carb or something a little bit sugarier, is that a word? It might be more prudent, it might be more wise to keep that nearer the workout just to help with energy levels. The other thing to remember is that vegetables and fruits are still carbohydrates. However, vegetables especially, they've got such a low calorie, high kind of density ratio, high nutrient density ratio, you really want to see these as your free pass. Fruit's slightly different because it does have a fair amount of sugar in there, but remember, providing you stay within this kind of window, it doesn't really matter where you get these sugars from. However, again, something I'll touch upon at another time is that nutrient density does matter, or your food composition. So opting for safer foods like vegetables and fruit is going to be far better than opting for things like chocolate. Again, it just really makes sense, like most things with nutrition. So just to sum up, remember, once you've worked out your calories, you can do your proteins, then your fats, and the rest can come from carbohydrates. It doesn't matter too much where they come from, but it just makes sense to opt for things like fruit and veg because they're high in nutrients and vitamin spectrum, and also things that are high in fibre because that'll keep you full for longer. However, it's not the end of the world if you opt for things like, say, sugar and table sugar, if it does fit within that window. Again, any questions you do have, make sure you ask me, okay, shoot me an email. And if you need to know a little bit more, check out urbanenergy.com to download your free Nutrition 101 guide. See you next time, stay healthy.